Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Building Scale, specifically the Building Connections series where we've partnered with key makers here in Arizona to bring their members to the forefront to learn about them. And today's guest is nothing short but other than awesome, Andrea Piering. She's the president of Sun State Builders. She has an amazing story because it starts as the part-timer that works her way to become president of the company, which to me is like very, very much a story that you read in a business magazine, and it's, oh my God, I can't believe they were the cart pusher and now they're running the whole thing, which is cool. In our conversation, she emphasizes about being mindful about individual communication styles with her team, which is super, super true. And we discuss culture a whole bunch at Sun State, the values of being rigorous honesty, customer service, and quality. And she also emphasizes the fact that repeat business is a huge component for the company, and not just stopping support when it's done, but ongoing support afterwards, even if it's not your problem, doing the right thing, which I love. And she also mentions the use of technology, right? So we talk about people, process, technology. She hits on all of it. It was a really fun conversation I had with her. She even talks about AI and 3D printing a little bit, which is cool. And then finally, we talk a little bit about keymakers and how having a network like keymakers is super valuable. When you connect like-minded people together, good things generally happen. Kind of like me and Andrea, because we're both Sun Devils. So go Sun Devils. And as we create our Sun Devil network together, I'm excited to see kind of what happens from there. So buckle up. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope it's impactful to you as much as it was to me when we had this chat. Hi, Andrea. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. I'm really excited. As I mentioned, you are a Sun Devil. I'm a Sun Devil, so that's always exciting for me, even though now that I live in Arizona again, it's way more common in comparison to Chicago. But it's cool to have a network of business owners that are Sun Devils too, because that's, to me, is like I should start a group or something and say like, hey, if you're a Sun Devil and you run a business or a leader in a business, we should just have drinks once a month or something.
Exactly, like our own fraternity.
Exactly. I wasn't in a fraternity when I was at ASU, mostly because I just didn't need it. I just like to talk to everybody, so I didn't have that. I'm not bashing fraternities by any means, but also not that many people I knew were in fraternities, which is interesting. But I digress. Let's talk more about you in Sun State. So tell me the beginning stages here. The part-time to president. That's the normal path most people take. So tell me your path.
So I started doing underground conduit with my dad when I was like 14, and we would do it for Sun State's job sites. And it really just was kind of like an extra money thing, and he was trying to teach me how to work and trying to teach me, the value of manual labor and things like that. And so then when I became 16 and 17 and I could drive, then, for a summer job, I started as a courier for Sun State. So that was back in the days when we used to drive plans around or have to pick up things from architects and engineers. And so I just kind of started doing that. And then as I was, getting out of school and I graduated and started college, there would be times that I was able to work. And so I just kind of stayed with Sun State doing odds and ends. I was the receptionist at one point. I was the president's secretary at one point. And then I just started in the coordinator role. And so as I worked through the coordinator role and worked through college at the same time, I kind of progressed into the project manager. And what I was going about halfway through college, I realized what I was going to college for, I didn't want to do anymore. And so I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. So my degrees in biology and chemistry and really not used. But when I graduated, I talked to our founder, Jim Chamberlain, and I just mentioned, hey, do you mind if I stay on and keep managing projects? So he was gracious enough to let me do that. And kind of the rest is history. About 5 years ago, he said, hey, I need a succession plan, and I'd like for you and my partner, Mike, to take over the business. What do you guys think about that? And so it's been a 5-year process and kind of a 5-year buyout, but this is the first year that he's 100% out and Mike and I own the company.
I was actually unaware of how similar our stories are, because I have a degree in criminal justice and I've yet to really use that. I did work at a law firm at one point, but did nothing involving law at all. I was a clerk and then records and then HR and then marketing, and similar to you, but apparently you in Illinois, you can't own a law firm unless you're a lawyer. And I definitely wasn't interested in taking the bar. So yeah, that's wild. Succession planning is interesting. So was it as easy as it sounds? It was saying, hey, do you want to take over the business? Sure. Okay. And then 5 years later, bingo, bango.
It kind of was, in the sense that for my partner and I, we both have been at this company 25 years. So we grew up in the business. His father was the president at one point for, I think, about 10 years. My father was the general contractor for 40 years. The general manager, sorry, for 40 years. And so it just kind of was something that was a part of us, and we, for being with the company so long, we kind of felt like we were family with Jim anyways, so it was just kind of, yeah, this makes sense. We'd love to. And so, yeah, it kind of was as simple as it sounds.
It helps when you were already deep in the business and already doing all the things. So that certainly makes it easier than compared to coming from the outside. But what have you learned, though? There's always those were things I thought I was running the entire business before, but there are things that I wasn't aware of that somebody else was taking care of. What are some of those things that you may have found?
I would say a lot of it is just employee dealings and being more mindful of that not everyone is outgoing and, an extrovert like I am and stuff, and trying to be more mindful of that and trying to just really make sure that messages that are going out fit the variety of people that we have. Our people are so important to us, and they really are what makes this company tick. And so it's like trying to make sure that you don't step on toes inadvertently just by, assuming everyone's the same as you are. Everyone wants direct, blunt communication. It's like, that's not real. So that's kind of been one of those things that has been an eye opener for us.
I actually was just talking to one of my partners when I was in Chicago earlier this week for strategic planning about how so many people don't want the blunt response. And for us, one of our core values is being candid and just being straight out and straightforward. So it is always surprising to us, because we are that way, that it's like, oh yeah, you want to not have the direct, hey, this is what I see, this is what I think, there you go. Not trying to hurt your feelings, not trying to tell you what to do, but just be open about it. I find we find that being candid is huge core value for us. But you're right, not everybody is built that
way. Exactly. And I'm very much that way. And so it has been a learning lesson for sure you've got to reevaluate who you're talking to, how they perceive, and receive information, and try to kind of adjust based on that. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's probably a year ago, somewhere close to that. There's a general in the Air Force, a retired general in the Air Force, and he had mentioned to me that, leadership, even in the military, it's you have to think about the people that you're leading, because it's not just one size fits all. You have to be dynamic, because if you want to get the best out of anybody, you have to, approach them the way they need to be approached. Sometimes that's push a little harder. Sometimes that's more complimentary, all kinds of different things. So totally agree. People though are the foundation for growth. So how has that change gone? So you were an equal or a leader in the company, but now you are definitively the president. So it's how has that change been perceived by all of your awesome employees?
I'm not sure I ever have a perfectly accurate vision of it, just because by nature of the dynamics. But for the most part, it doesn't seem like there's, a tremendous pushback or anything else, because I was already in a high leadership position. So it didn't really change all that much. And I feel like from my team's perspective that I was leading, it was they all kind of worked well with me. I try to value everyone's opinion, and I'm much more of a leader that's by kind of decision by committee. And I don't
Mhm.
approach it like my answer is the solid answer, because maybe it's not, and so I feel like I had a lot of tremendous amount of respect for my team in that regard. So kind of transitioning to more leadership, I haven't had a tremendous amount of pushback.
Got it. Did somebody essentially backfill the role that you were in, or did you kind of just encompass the ownership and still have the daily tasks that you had prior?
Kind of a little bit of both. So for my
Okay.
partner and I both, we want to manage at least one job, just to
Okay.
make sure that we're in tune with what's
Yeah.
happening in the market, whether
Keep
it's
your
supply
finger on the
chain
pulse.
issues, exactly, like, city issues. It's when you're removed from that, it's easy to overlook, and it's more difficult to troubleshoot when you don't have the full perspective. So we do want to manage. So in that sense, I am still managing at least one, or if it's a repeat customer of ours that's
Yeah.
like, I just really want to deal with Andrea, that's okay, But then we typically promote from within.
Hmm.
So we had two of our project engineers, assistant project managers, project engineers, move into the project management role. So they kind of backfilled a little bit as well.
Okay, that makes sense. Helping by committee, decisions by committee, helping by committee. Very group family esque kind of environment. It sounds like. What does
Yes.
culture look like at Sun State?
Yeah, it is very much a culture, for better or worse, that's like family, and a lot of people, and we've had a lot of people who have been here for, 20, 30, 40 years. And so they understand the culture deeply, and anyone that's new that comes in, it's kind of like you can tell if they're going to fit or not fit right away, like by how they kind of assimilate to the group, just like a family. And
Oh yeah.
people here are very protective of the company, which is wonderful, and protective of our values and how we treat our customers and how we treat our subcontractors. So the word kind of almost spreads internally from within. So we've got a lot of people that our founder always kind of had a principle of treat it like it's your own. So treat it like it's your own customer, your own money. And we've continued those values. So our people have the right to make a decision on their projects, how they're managing something, as if it's their own money or their own customer. And we support it, even if it's a decision that we say, hey, we wouldn't have made that. You've made that decision, and we completely support it. And we try to make sure that if there's errors or anything that's a kind of like wow, we need to do that differently next time. We have created a culture. We have like a project managers meeting monthly, in which we try to say, okay, tell us what you did, tell us how the outcome was, and what you would do next time differently if it was any of us. And we believe that the price of an education is expensive. Let's only pay it once. So
That's so true. Uh, that that's a so going into the culture, right? That's part of it. It's like we're gonna let you have ownership. We're gonna let you have that comes with accountability. However, that doesn't mean like if you get it wrong, bad you, shame on you. You shouldn't have done that. It's like, all right, how do we grow from this? Let's not do it
mhm.
again. Then it becomes a different conversation. But no, that's I feel like a lot of people forget that everybody wants to be innovative. Anybody wants to be, cutting edge. Everybody wants to be this company that like is striving for better and growth and all that. But people forget that, like, well, yeah, that comes with failures. That comes with things that we
Oh yeah.
miss and that we have mistakes. Like that's inherently how it works. Because if we just knew how to be, 10 times larger than we are, or whatever the aspirations are, it's like we would just do it instead of like, oh, there's some trial and error that goes into all kinds of different things.
Oh, for sure. And in construction, I mean, there's things are always changing. You come into new problems, so you're always trying to innovate or do something better
Yeah.
or faster. And oftentimes, like I'll say, hey, we've got this team is trying something different. They're the guinea pig. They're going to report back on if that's faster, better, more efficient, or nope, stick with the old way. So we really try to make it like a collaboration and just trial and error. It doesn't hurt to try anything, because if you don't, maybe you never know the better way.
1,000% agree. So you've gone from the part time beginning role to the present. obviously their leadership occurred between then. It wasn't a title that you then became a leader. That's not how leadership works. What advice would you give somebody that is younger in the company, or any company that's has high aspirations, like, I want to be a leader in what I'm doing today, even if I'm not the CEO, president, COO, whoever in a leadership team?
I'd probably say that, everyone's a leader at some level in what their task is. And a lot of it, I would say, is actions. People will follow you when your actions are toeing the line, when you're working hard, when you're diligent, when you're making sure that your communication is right, and you're kind of double checking yourself. People want to follow someone who seems like they're squared away, they're handling what they need to handle at any level. It earns that respect. But then secondly, I'd probably say you've got to let go of anything that's ego driven and I'm right. I want you to notice me. I want me to be, people will notice you when you're, your job's coming in on time, or your submittals are always, done and accurate. When people know that they can count on you, that's when they start to notice you, rather than trying to, puff up your chest and I know all this information. It's like, let people discover that about you. It seems like you will rise faster as a leader, and people will get behind you as a leader when there's not a lot of ego involved.
I love the book, Ryan Holiday book. It's called Ego is the Enemy. If that is one in your library, your company library, or not, that's a great one for people that are trying to be leaders, because it's so true. You don't get in your own way, is what I like to say. It's like, if you get in your own way, it's hard to lead other people. And if you have your ego that is continuously trying to go in a different direction than what maybe the vision of the company is, or the vision of your team is, it's really, really difficult to get them to follow you.
For sure. And it's like, in my mind, it's like a rising tide raises all ships. So if you're in the group, you don't have to be the standout one. If the entire group is doing well, everyone rises, and that whole team can be, it doesn't have to be a, oh, look at me scenario,
Completely agree. That's actually, it's hilarious. If you've listened to episodes of the podcast, I butcher that analogy every time. It's like, I'm putting ships and waves in places and all kinds of, I don't know. I know it. I know what it means, but there's, for whatever reason, I can never say it properly. So thank you for rising all the tides in this podcast episode, certainly. Speaking of innovation, what about technology stuff, right? Construction generally looks, people think that it's fairly behind the times when it comes to technology and things like that. What's Sunstate doing to say, hey, we're not gonna be left behind?
We're doing a lot of deep dives into AI, how AI can. We're trying to experiment with AI being able to do plan review to some extent, for it to be able to do like landscape plans, things like that. We're trying to dial in what that looks like. Ultimately, I don't know, it's not there yet, but I can see it rapidly getting there to where we can upload drawings and kind of almost do like a cursory preliminary review, while the project manager is looking at it from a like a VE, value engineering perspective, and they're trying to look at it from a constructability standpoint. The AI can look at it from like a code standpoint. And so that's ultimately where we see it going. And so we're trying to experiment with that and see what that looks like. And then additionally, we're trying to learn and study a little bit on like the 3D printing, some of the large scale 3D printing that you see happening, and what that takes, if that would be something that could be implemented here in the Valley, what that machinery looks like, kind of the cost analysis regarding that. There's just a lot of cool things that are happening, besides all of the cool new products that are, using mushrooms for bricks and things like that, which is neat as well.
That's wild.
There's amazing new materials that are kind of coming out. They're not mainstream yet, but there's some interesting concepts there. But that's kind of some of the stuff we're looking at and trying to see where it goes and following closely.
That's super forward thinking. We, us at Spot, we are playing with this concept you mentioned plans. It's very interesting because it's like, how do you take a company's data, right? Like already exists. You've already done how many projects? All these things exist. So as long as the data is somewhere, then how do you then utilize the AI to then digest it the way you want to? And then in your case, now digest the data, but then also what's the code? And does that now, is that equaling right? So that's really intriguing. I will have to keep you updated as we go and build out what that looks like.
Absolutely.
To maybe be able to helpful. That's super cool. So let's talk about getting business. So obviously you got great people. You've got a great leadership. Had a great leadership before. It just looks even better now, as they say. And you're doing awesome things with tech. So how do you get business? What's the secret to continuing beautiful growth in the Valley here?
We have a tremendous amount of repeat customers. We're very blessed with that. So that's a huge portion of our business, but also for new business, it's the brokers, the real estate brokers bring us a tremendous amount of work, and we're grateful for that. We're one of the few design build contractors in Arizona still that are, there's great value in the design build, but just a lot of people don't know how to do it and just would rather hard bid drawings. We can do both, but we find the value that we can add for our customers in doing the design build and collaboration is tremendous. And so the brokers know that in the brokerage community through the 50 years that we've been here, and they bring us a lot of work for that reason. When it's a specific customer or they see that there would be the right scenario for collaboration, they'll bring work there. Also, groups like key makers, things like that, SIOR, NAOP. There's a lot of different industry events where there's just different connections made that, there's different owners that are in there. There's developers that are in there. And another way that we get it as well is architects and engineers. If someone, starts with an architect designing the building the way that they want, because typically when people want to do a new building, they don't know whether they find the real estate broker that finds the land or the architect that draws the drawings and kind of gives them some preliminary site sketches or whatever. So the architects are vital as well for our business and getting new customers.
It's intriguing because the design build aspect, has Sun State always been design build, or is this something that kind of evolved over time?
We've always been design build, but we hard bid just the same. But, we're a little bit spoiled in the design build world because most of that's negotiated work because there is so much value that we can add by collaborating through the design. And there is a little bit of risk that we take on in doing that, design build work because we take ownership of it as well, that we own it and that it'll work and that it's constructible. So, but we're good at it. And that's where we can add a lot of value for our customers and getting them the product that they want, not wasting money where they don't want it, and then, giving them the vision that they see in their head.
Yeah, it's when you can all encompass something, when we can have your hands in a lot of pieces of the process, it has a whole bunch of benefits. That is certainly what I've seen in interviews that I've given, that when you can affect other parts of the process, it allows you to just have a better outcome, essentially. That's the easiest way to say.
Yeah, for sure. For us, because when we see something on the plans, we know what that equates to cost-wise. And so, or, have a decent feel. So we're able to kind of guide an owner through and saying, okay, this is drawn as this beautiful ceiling. So when you walk in your lobby, you're going to have this beautiful ceiling. And sometimes the owner's like, I don't care about that. I need my factory to have 55 more drops because I want to spend that money over there. And it's like, okay, that's great. We're happy to do it. Or if they want the beautiful ceiling, that's great. We can do that too. But it's easier to kind of be the translator, if you will, in between the design and the customer to make sure that they are, spending the money where they want to.
So that goes to you said a lot of repeat business. How have you been able to execute it at such a high level that a good chunk of your business is repeat?
One of our core values is like rigorous honesty, and another one is just
love that.
Another one is just like customer service. and, being responsive. And so for us, that's ingrained through the culture. All, like, when we're done with the building, even though we have a year warranty, it can be 3 years later, and we'll have a customer call us and say, hey, our bathrooms are flooding. Do you remember where our shutoff valve is? And we'll send a superintendent, preferably the superintendent that did the work. But if they're not close, another one. And so if someone will show up 3 years later, in 20 minutes, because our guys are all over the valley, and help them and shut it off. And it's just one of those things that's ingrained in our culture. We don't care that we can't bill for that. That doesn't matter to us. They're our customer for life. And so we need to help them when we can. And that's something that we can do quite simply. And it kind of solidifies that we care, and we truly do. And so it's one of those things that you've had a relationship with us. We don't just abandon the relationship at the end of the warranty. We believe that it is for life. And if there's any way we can help them, we do. And so that's led to a lot of repeat business when, they are going to expand and they're doing their next building. It's kind of like, well, gosh, they were there to help us right when we needed it, or they would send us plans, or they would answer questions. It's just kind of led to a lot of repeat business for us.
I love that methodology, that mindset of the bigger picture, the long term, because there's so many times where people do live in the dollar to dollar moment where, yeah, I did this thing, I had to send a super, and I didn't generate any revenue at that point. However, I've solidified more of a relationship, and that there is an immense amount of value there, even if today I can't show that on my P&L.
Sure, absolutely.
How do you get the new team to understand that concept of, like, we are going to help, essentially? I guess that's the main thing there. We care and we're going to help.
I think a lot of it comes from kind of almost constant reiteration in project manager meetings with our superintendent team and my general superintendent. And I'm blessed that a lot of my guys have been with me for a really long time. So they understand that. And so when someone new comes in, it's kind of like you get indoctrinated in it. If you're the new guy that happens to be close to that building, it's like, hey, I need you to go to this building. This was our previous customer, and I need you to find the shutoff valve for them. And the project manager who did the job is going to call you and try to walk you through it. So they almost get like trial by fire. It's like, okay, great, I'll go do that, But we also reiterate it, at least I feel like I say it every 2-3 months. Like, what makes us different is our customer service and our quality. So we have to make sure that we're always serving the customer and that our quality is top notch.
No, I couldn't say it better myself. So you had mentioned key makers. So let's talk about that. Obviously, that's what brought us together. We met at D-Backs game through key makers, which is awesome. So I got to hear all about the story from part-time to president, which you should make that your book, by the way. I'm not even going to take any points. I'm just going to give that to you. That's just a gift.
That's a great name.
But let's talk about key makers. So what have you seen, and what makes key makers worth your time to be part of?
Besides meeting awesome people like you, I think it's just Jason and Cassie, they both have just put together groups of people kind of not like in the same industry, so that even if it's someone who, hey, they may do, slightly the same thing that I do, it's still, it's just people that are like-minded thinkers, so that when you're together and you're at an event, you can, collaborate, talk about what you're seeing, what's different in the industry, kind of just have like minds that are all, at the CEO level, but in the same relative industry, being able to converse, doing fun events together. It's just, it makes it almost like a tight-knit group that, in the event that I had something that I didn't know about, or, hey, it's like advisors. So you could really kind of reach out to them and, hey, what do you think of this? Like, and get their opinion and their feedback from you. It's just really been a neat experience.
I couldn't agree more, which reminds me, I don't know if you need somebody that does foundation stuff, but I just talked to 2 different companies in the Valley this past week that do that. So,
sure, absolutely. Yeah. I always need good subs.
So awesome. This has been great. Tons of fun. I really enjoyed talking to you. But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, somebody wanted to connect and network with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can send me an email. Andrew, it's A Piering, Piering, at sunstatebuilders.com or on LinkedIn. Either one.
Awesome. I will make sure that both those are in the show notes for us. Before we say our goodbyes, is there anything else you'd like to tell the people? Advice, words of wisdom, thoughts, just whatever's on the top of your mind? Kentucky Derby news?
Nope. Just, we're a great company that's been here for a very long time. And if there's anything we can do to help anyone, we're happy to do it in any arena, whether it's, advice or whether it's building news, whatever, we're here.
Awesome. Love it. This has been a ton of fun. Listeners, I hope you had a good time listening to me and Andrea. And until next time, adios.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
keep building scale.
Scale.